Hello and welcome to the Random House Children's Books Fall 2024 preview. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom 1 hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by copying the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the live transcript icon on the toolbar mentioned earlier. From there, you can select show or hide captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting subtitle settings. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a section for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box that appears. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions and will pass along all other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may at the discretion of the organizers be immediately removed. We have a wonderful event planned for you today, and we'll hear from the Random House Children's Books team a little later on in the program. But first, we'll begin with a conversation led by Senior Executive Editor of Alfred A. Knopf Books for Young Readers, Nancy Siscoe, with author Katherine Rundell. Take it away, Nancy and Katherine.
Thank you so much, and welcome to Katherine. I'm so happy to see you.
Thank you. It's such an honor to be here and to be able to speak to you all. Thank you so much.
Excellent. I think anybody who has spoken to me in the past year knows that I will take any opportunity to talk about Katherine Rundell and her incredible new book. For those who haven't heard of her before, you're about to. No, but she is the author of Rooftoppers and Cartwheeling in Thunderstorms and The Wolf Wilder and The Explorer and the Good Thieves. So many wonderful titles. And but this one, I just think this feels like such a breakout moment, for you. Like, I just think Impossible Creatures is the beginning of such a fantastic new adventure for all of us. Now I know that ARCs have gone out for this book, but I suspect that some lucky people in the audience may have read it already, but probably not all. So Katherine, can you give us a little setup for the story and tell us, like, just to set the stage?
So wonderful. Impossible Creatures is about a cluster of islands in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean, hidden from us by magic, where all the creatures of myth that mankind has ever invented are still alive. So they live and breathe and thrive there. And you can get there if you know the way. And our story opens with two characters, a girl from what they call the archipelago, the enchanted archipelago, who has a coat that allows her to fly, but only when the wind blows, meets a boy from Scotland and England, and they collide. And she comes through into Scotland, and she says to him, it says in the book, the words that have the power to create most chaos and havoc and love and hope in the world are, I need your help. Because all of the creatures in the island are starting to die. And also she is pursued by a murderer. She doesn't know why. And together they go on a journey that takes them through many of the islands, seeking what it is that is creating this new draining of what they call the glamoury, which is a very old Scots Welsh word for magic.
So exciting. I just love the wild abundance of creatures. There are dragons and unicorns, but also so many creatures that I had not heard of and now love to death. I especially love the Ratatascas, which are gossipy green squirrel-like creatures, I know. And you have imbued each of these creatures with such a distinct personality. I'd love for you to talk to people a little bit about your research and to hear about your favorite creatures.
It was the greatest joy in terms of research. I have another job, which is that I teach Shakespeare and Renaissance literature at Oxford. So I spend a lot of time in libraries anyway. But being in archives looking for mythic creatures, I wanted to make sure that all of the creatures, none of them are invented by me. They are all creatures that have been invented by mankind, by our hunger for adventure, our hunger for danger, for beauty. And I would come across them in unexpected places. So I was reading some of Pliny, who was writing in about the year 70 AD, and he wrote what is probably the first encyclopedia, his natural history. And in it, in amongst accounts of badgers and hedgehogs and pigeons, there's a dragon. There's a jaculous dragon, a tiny tree-dwelling dragon that he says launches itself like a javelin at your face. And so I stole that and made it an even smaller dragon. So ours is small enough just to perch on the top of your thumb. Jack the Jaculus. I loved writing him. I loved writing the griffin, Gelifen. It was such a joy inventing what he might be like, how a griffin might perch on your shoulder and nibble at your earlobe and try to eat your shoe. I loved writing the sort of, like the darker ones, like the Carcadans, which are like, you find them in Middle Eastern manuscripts and Southern European, and they are unicorns that eat children for a hobby. All of these, they were just such a huge delight to find them and steal them for my story.
Oh, well stolen, very well stolen. Yes, there are adorable creatures and very, very dangerous creatures. So it's a delight, and we were so thrilled to have the beginnings of bestiary in the back of the book with that gives even more detail about some of the creatures. That it's just been such a delight. But of course, I love the human characters as well. Mal and Christopher, of course, but also Christopher's grandfather, Frank, and Night Hand, a berserker, and Irian. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about this amazing cast and kind of how you peopled your story.
They were such a huge delight to try to conjure, and they didn't all come easily. Some of them, it feels like they've walked into your imagination. So Night Hand is a berserker, which means he feels no fear. He thinks incapable of feeling fear, which also means you have no fear of insulting everyone around you. So his voice, it was like a real person standing next to me. But then others you have to, build and conjure. There's Irian, who is the sort of archipelagian equivalent of a marine scientist. She is one of the ones who notices early that the water creatures are beginning to starve in the water. And I loved writing her. I wanted to write a sexy dork. And a lot of my friends are sexy dorks. And so I had many possible models for her. And then I wanted to write Mal and Christopher. The idea of these children they're around 12, 13, and they are becoming the person that they are going to be. And they hear a call for adventure, for courage, and they meet it, but they don't meet it straightforwardly. I didn't want them to be paragons. They're just kids who have suddenly a task much greater than any they expected. And I loved writing that.
Oh, brilliant. One thing I found amazing as I read was just how quickly I fell in love with the archipelago and felt such an immediate, intense need to protect it. It reminded me a bit of reading about demons for the first time in the Golden Compass. I'd never imagined a demon before, but a few chapters in, like the idea that someone might separate you from your demon becomes the most unthinkable horror. And I just love fantasy's ability to do that. And I'd love to hear from you, like how you managed to kind of draw readers in and to make them care so immediately and so intensely.
I think so much of it how do you make something real for other people? I think the only answer is you make it real for yourself first. So all of those islands, I know so much about them that will never make it into any book, because then it would become a kind of incredibly boring travelogue. It would be like a dictionary. But I know. So I know that the air smells slightly different in Atadina and Lithia. I loved naming them. The islands were cut off from us 3,000 years ago, and most of the islands were named before that, some of them after. So they are all in some of our oldest languages. They are in Old English, Old Norse, Sanskrit, Aramaic, Old Chinese, Old Arabic, Old French. And that was a real delight, finding names. And then just trying to make it a place that children would long to go to, a place where when you leave, you want to go back, a place where you maybe start to believe that it might be true. That was the thing I wanted so much. I wanted to try to conjure that same feeling that we have with Pullman and Middle-earth and Narnia, places that you dream of being.
Oh, and I do, except for the dangerous parts. There are some of those creatures that I am not keen to meet, but other than that, I think one thing that really, really strikes me about this book is the theme of caring and caretaking, that just runs through in so many different ways, and also how that relates to our world as well. I'm thinking about the scene with the sphinxes point out to Christopher that the same kinds of dangers actually are possible in our world as well. And it was just such a revelatory moment in this story for me. And I'd love to hear you talk more about your thoughts there.
I know you and I feel about this very similarly, Nancy, that all stories must be stories first. They have to be stories. You cannot offer a child a story and give them a moral. It's rude and ungenerous, and it will put them off stories. But I think fantasy especially can be such a brilliant way to offer children ways of thinking about things which are big and unwieldy and spiky and difficult to think about. And one of those is the idea of the staggering beauty of the natural world of our world and the peril in which we have placed it. And so I wanted for the book to be in some ways a joyful adventure that would also allow them to think about the idea that what we have is as glorious and as extraordinary as anything in the archipelago. You know, they have unicorns, but we have narwhals, and they have ratatoscas, but we have hedgehogs. And I wanted to give the idea that if you could see our world with fresh eyes, with the eyes of an archipelagian, you would be just as stunned. And there is a moment where the sphinxes say that there are some creatures that we have, they don't have. So they don't have giraffes, for instance, and they don't have panthers, and they don't have swifts, and they don't have hedgehogs. And they think that those are insane stories that we have made up. Like, you know, because a giraffe makes no sense.
Yes.
And I want to offer kids the idea that your care, your focus, your work, your courage, your resistance to following what people tell you is not a problem. Your willingness to see clearly will be worth the effort. That joy awaits your courage, and you know, standing ovations await your bravery. I wanted to give them a sense that caring is so powerfully worth the pain that it will take.
Yes, exactly. I know. I think it's interesting you've actually approached this idea coming from a different angle as a book of nonfiction for adults. I think that is going to be released this fall in the US as well. So I just want to give you a minute to tell people about Vanishing Treasures, you know.
So Vanishing Treasures is like Impossible Creatures, but nonfiction and for adults. It's a series of essays. I think there are 23 or 24 of real life impossible creatures. So hedgehogs and swifts and narwhals and the Greenland shark, which there is a Greenland shark alive right now, who was also alive when Shakespeare was writing Hamlet. And swifts, the idea that swifts fly 2 million kilometers in their lifetime, which is enough to fly to the moon and back twice over, and then once more to the moon. So that was my bid, to try to capture some of the real glories of the actual world. And then I wanted to do that thing that fantasy allows you, which is to take it and, you know, paint it even brighter and offer it to children.
Yes, brilliant. I know. Like, it's just, yeah, you do kind of make me see the world in a completely new way, which is brilliant. I love in this story, that Mal and Christopher are on this quest to find out what is happening with the magic and why things seem to be draining from the archipelago. And I really like how Mal's first instinct is to go to the Flying Senate to help seek help from adults or authorities. Like, there must be someone who is going to fix this. But the adults in the archipelago, much like adults in our world, are very bogged down in bureaucracy and procedure. And it just becomes clear very quickly that the kids in the story are going to have to take this on themselves. It's maddening, but also so empowering. And I love how you empower your readers.
I wanted so much to write a story where the children are the ones who have to make decisions. And sometimes that requires some sort of plot finessing. But I love the idea of writing books that look at what children might do if they were put right at the edge of their capacities, if they were pushed and pushed. What are they capable of rising to? Because one of my experiences of being a child was of being constantly talked down to in a way I found infuriating. And so I wanted to write a book that would never, ever talk down to children and that would salute their sense of justice. I think children are among the most underestimated people in the world, because I think we forget that they have a real sense of fairness, of beauty, of wonder, things that we necessarily finesse as we get older, but they have them sharp. And I wanted to write a book that would in some ways be a kind of bow to that, a kind of celebration of the fact that faced with an injustice, a child is the one who is least likely to let it go, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Kids have an incredible sense of justice and what feels right and, true. And like, I love that you empower them to act and to take it on. I mean, there's so many rich, deep themes in this book, but truly, like, it is a rip-roaring adventure. I mean, it is breakneck pace. There are kraken attacks and battles with vicious karkadans and cliffs to climb and mazes to venture. And I'd love to hear about how you balance out the elements.
So when I was a kid, I loved big, thrilling action scenes. So my favorite things were, of course, the jokes, the food. When I was reading as a kid, I loved food scenes. And then I loved those scenes where things come to a crux, where someone pulls a sword and shouts for Narnia. I loved the moments where you could feel everybody rising together. And I wanted to make sure that we had a number of these, a number of bits which for some kids would be their favorite bit. So when a kraken comes and you have to rescue your griffin from being flung into the ocean, and then you are picked up on the back of a hippocamp and a nereid flies you through the oceans. Or the idea of these karkadans. I know that this is one of the things that gets mentioned most when I speak to kids. They love the karkadans. They love the idea of not just one, sort of they're unicorn-like, they're sort of purplish black. They don't do anything except really eat children and grass. Those are their two favorite foods. And the idea of you had not just one, but a pack of them. If you had a horde, a cascade of them, a stampede. And I loved writing that. And then I loved at the end writing a sort of final battle, which is quieter in its way, but I wanted it to be a vision of what courage might look like.
Oh, yes. Yes. I mean, there are moments in this book that are just thrilling and achingly sad and riotously funny. Boy, are you giving kids like the full range of experience and emotion here. It is just a roller coaster. And I love how you are trusting your kid readers with the big emotions.
Yeah, I think kids have those big emotions. I remember this so vividly from being a kid. You don't become interested in why we're people for the first time on your 18th birthday. Like, kids want to know, what is the point of being a human? What is danger? What is evil? What is greatness? What is courage? And I think fantasy can be this brilliant form of like philosophy's more brilliantly painted cousin. And I wanted to write something that would give kids the whole sweep of emotional response. I do get some very, very, very angry letters about one specific event that what I will mean, Nancy.
Oh,
There
yes,
is
you do.
happening. And the rage that I have faced from children has been very great and very sweet.
Oh, yes. I've been getting those calls too, just so you like, how dare you? I know. This book is already out in the UK, and it has just been a wild success. It was Waterstone's Book of the Year. It was just recently at the British Book Awards. The book was named the Best Children's Book of the Year, and you were named the Author of the Year. So many congratulations.
Thank you.
There have just been comparisons with Tolkien and C.S. Lewis and Philip Pullman, and I totally see all those connections, but I also think that this book is so fresh and new and unique and exciting, and if anything, more accessible for children, or maybe just today's children. And I just wonder, like, what do you make of all these comparisons? Like, how do you see it yourself, and how do you place yourself in that canon? No, welcome to the canon, Ms. Rundell. No.
I think when those comparisons were first made, I mean, nearly had a heart attack. But I think the way I think about it for myself is that these were the greats. These were the great writers, but they were also working in a tradition that had been established by the people who came before them, by the Morte d'Arthur and the Sword in the Stone, and then you go back and you get Malory, and you get Spencer's Faerie Queene, and you get Beowulf, and you go further back and you get Gilgamesh, 2,500 years ago. And I love the idea that we are all part of this chorus, that we all pick up the song and sing it to the next generation, and then they pick it up and sing it to the next and to the next. And so I love thinking of myself as being one small voice in this choir that has found ways of writing stories, both for children and adults, that are fantastical, but are about us, about our love, our sorrow, our hope, our joy, our bravery, our vanity, our glory. And so I think of it more as, I love the idea, this song that humanity has been singing for thousands of years. I love being one tiny part of it.
I think you're having a solo moment. It is time for Katherine Rundell's major solo. I know, it's so exciting. I know that you have been touring and talking to people and to children especially, and I'm so fascinated to hear what kids have had to say. Like, what have you learned from them?
It's been glorious. I was at Hay Festival on Thursday, where a lot of the kids have already read the book, and it was so wonderful. A lot of them had brought me drawings of their own impossible creatures, or made little clay models of impossible creatures. So I got a lot of rage about the one plot point that they're all very angry about, the great loss. But then also my favorite thing, and this has happened maybe half a dozen times now, kids who are not that young, kids who are 10 and 11 and 12 and even older, saying, I know that this is obviously made up. Like, I know, but it doesn't say anywhere that it's definitely made up. Like, and I just wanted, like, obviously it's not true, and it's obviously not true, but I just wanted to check it's not true. And that has been the loveliest thing. These kids are like, maybe, just maybe it's real. And I just feel such joy when I meet those kids that they have taken it to heart.
Yes, I know, because of course we all want it to be real. I know. I definitely want to be a gatekeeper. I'm here to help. Definitely, I know. Really, I'd love, hearing you speak about children's books and about what they mean and what they have meant to you. Side note for everyone in the audience, Kate wrote the most gorgeous essay called Why You Should Read Children's Books, Even Though You Are So Old and Wise. And so I would love to kind of hear you speak a little bit about what you feel is essential about children's fiction, and why, even though you have written for adults and in many other functions, like why you are drawn to children's books especially.
So I think it is truly the most important kind of writing. It is where we make readers, and it is also where we help make people, because they are books written for children who are in the process of becoming the person they're going to be. And I know that when I was a kid and reading, it was the books I read at that age, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that they just get into your heart and into your blood and bones and fingernails. And then you just walk around for the rest of your life with those books in you. Even after you've forgotten the names of the characters, they made you. And so it seems to me that children deserve the best writing. And I find it much harder. I found writing children's books much harder than writing, say, books about John Donne, the dead poet, because that's just true, that's just a story that happened. But fiction requires conjuring. And I think children are the ones who are most hungry for truth and jokes and joy and passion and delight. And so I think you must give the hungry good food. And so, they deserve all our best jokes, all our best philosophy, all our best knowledge. And so the chance to write for them, it is something I take very, very seriously. I think that it is the great honor of my life that I write for people who might go on and remember those books forever. And because I've been doing this for a while now, I've been writing for about 15 years, I meet girls in their 20s who say, I read your book when I was 10, and now I want to be a writer. And that feels like singing the song on to the next generation. It feels like such a joy.
Oh, well, it is a joy to read everything you write. And I know Impossible Creatures was the first book of yours that I had read. But then I did go back and read everything else you've written. I think Katherine is one of those writers where you're just like, hello, just changes everything for me. So I am delighted to send a million readers, off on this adventure and then off to the stacks of the libraries to find all of your other books, because they are just brilliant and so delicious and exciting, and of course, we are, this adventure, I'm so thrilled, will continue. I know you are working on second book set in the archipelago and around, and she hasn't told me anything about it, everyone. And so, don't want to out you. I don't know. Is there any sneak peek that you are willing to give any of us, or no? Maybe it's too soon.
I can say this. This one has a berserker who is a man who is not afraid. The next one has a child girl berserker who is not afraid, and she has been the most fun to write. The chaos, a small girl who fears nothing can wreak, is very great.
Oh, that is delicious. All right, that will tide me over for quite a while. It's quite a while. Thank you so much, Katherine, for being with us. We are delighted and thrilled to be able to publish Impossible Creatures and to share it with the world. And it's just, I don't know, it's been the joy of my career.
It's been such a delight. Thank you so much all for having me. And I will see you soon.
Thank you.
Katherine and Nancy, I was entirely enthralled by that entire conversation, and it was absolutely incredible. Thank you both so much for taking the time to be with us and to start off our fall 2024 preview. So hello, everyone, and welcome to the Random House Children's Books Fall 2024 preview. I'm Erica Stone, Manager of Library Marketing, and we are thrilled to share some of the amazing books that we have coming up next season. Okay, so we'll start things off with some picture books. Emotions and Feelings. Lost. Lost is the newest picture book from the highly acclaimed author-illustrator Bob Stack. Join a young girl in this paneled picture book as she embarks on a funny and unexpected quest to find her lost cat. Along the way, she assists her neighbors who have also misplaced their pets. This distinctive story is presented in a paneled narrative format, combining elements of graphic novel and picture book. It celebrates community and teaches the value of helping your neighbor and is ideal for the youngest of readers. Next slide. Grumpy Monkey Play All Day. Chimpanzee and all of the favorite characters from the best-selling Grumpy Monkey series are back in its 5th hardcover picture book. In this installment of the Grumpy Monkey series, a stubborn chimpanzee only wants to play all day and ignore everything else. Children and parents alike will relate to this silly book about procrastination. It uses humor to tackle the universal struggle for kids to stop playing and do their chores. The book features top-notch, snappy dialogue, hilarious expressions, and funny scenes from the talented husband and wife duo Susan and Max Lang. Next slide. Harold Hates to Hibernate. In this delightful sequel to the beloved picture book, Harold Loves His Woolly Hat, little bear Harold is not quite ready to go to sleep. Just like kids everywhere, he tries every tactic to stay awake. With repetition and soothing color palette, this book is perfect for bedtime reading. Author Vern Kowski is also the author of the first book in the series, Lawrence, and Milo is Missing. Next slide. The Creature of Habit Tries His Best, the second book in the Creature of Habit series, is a delightful picture book that chronicles the journey of learning to ride a bike. The book emphasizes the importance of persistence and doing your best rather than being the best. It serves as an encouraging reminder that acquiring a new skill requires time and patience. Illustrated by the talented Leo Espinosa, this book is, this book by author Jennifer E. Smith follows a character navigating through significant emotions. It encourages readers to take pride in every effort, no matter how big or small, and to keep trying with a positive attitude. Next slide. Be Careful, Zhao Jin. Zhao Jin believes he is a fearless red fire warrior, but his family always tells him to be careful. They think he's too little to be a warrior and believe the world is dangerous. However, Zhao Jin is determined to show his family that he is capable of more than they think and hopes to inspire his little sister to be brave too. This is a beautiful and tender story told in both English and Mandarin about learning to conquer your fears as a child and as an adult. Next slide. The Worry Monster, Calming Anxiety with Mindfulness. Everyone worries, but sometimes worries can become huge, overwhelming, and constant. Worry Monster knows 6 mindful monster moves that can help him and kids stop the worry spiral. In this therapeutic story from Dr. Catherine Cook Cotton, kids can see themselves in the Worry Monster and learn step-by-step practices for self-soothing and reducing their own anxiety. Give kids the tools to calm their inner worry monster with this interactive, vibrantly illustrated book. Okay, then we're moving to a category of family and friendships. And the first one we have is The Bakery Dragon. This story is about a little dragon named Ember, who is different from other dragons. Instead of a fearsome roar, his sounds more like a polite sneeze, and when he breathes fire, the villagers find it, well, cute. Ember worries that he'll never collect a respectable hoard of gold until he meets a baker and his luck changes. As he soon discovers earning gold is better than stealing it, and sharing is the best of all. This picture book is filmed with charming illustrations and celebrates baked goods, dragons, and generosity. It's a heartwarming story with a great message about sharing and accepting those who are different. And then the next slide is The Greatest. In this heartfelt tribute to grandparents, Newbery Honor author Vera Herendati and National Book Award finalist Vesper Stamper tell the story of grandfather who reflects on his loving relationship with his 3 grandchildren. The story beautifully captures how love can make anyone the greatest in someone's eyes. Grandpa loves Sundays when his 3 grandchildren come to visit. They act out plays, catch fireflies, and build a sukkah to celebrate the harvest. His grandchildren bestow affection and admiration on him, making him wonder why they think he's so great. This book captures how simple moments turned into treasured memories and how the power of love makes us all the greatest to somebody. And over to Michelle.
All right, I think Michelle might be having a little tech issue. So this is Katie Halata, the Director of Library Marketing. I'm gonna pop in and take some of Michelle's book until she's able to come back to us. So starting off, we have school and education stories with everyone's favorite, Miss Rachel. YouTube phenomena and household name Miss Rachel shares her sweet, charming, humorous, and tried and true teaching approach in this debut picture book about finding a special surprise. With more than 20 featured milestones, including gestures and speech, Miss Rachel brings her educational expertise to this brand new picture book, taking key lessons from her YouTube channel and crafting them into an engaging story. Fans of Songs for Little will recognize characters and music from their favorite videos, while Miss Rachel guides readers through exercises like pointing and call and response. Next. All right. Alfie explores A to Z. Everyone meet Alfie the bookworm. He lives in a library, of course, and he's lost pet dust bunny, Betty. Can you help him? Seek and find her in this amazing alliterative alphabet adventure. The first book in a new series for fans of Where's Waldo, Alfie Explores A to Z is a highly illustrative, immersive, and interactive picture book that introduces each letter of the alphabet as its own hyper-detailed scene, challenging readers to find Alfie on every page and to identify all the creatures, objects, and actions that begin with the letter. From award-winning assembly of animals to Zamboni ride through the zoo, follow Alfie and discover all of the wild wonders of the alphabet, like a bobcat barber blindly buzzing a baboon, and a unicorn on a unicycle playing a ukulele. What else will little readers find? Next. I'll pause for a moment to see if we've got Michelle back so I can hand over her titles. Otherwise, I'll keep going until she's able to rejoin us. Michelle, are you here?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I will pass the baton back to you.
Okay, thank you so
vote.
much. Next, we have Leo's First Vote, new from three-time Newbery honoree and active citizen Christina Suntervant and artist Isabel Roxas, who is in the process of getting nationalized. Leo's First Vote celebrates a mock election in Leo's class and emphasizes how important just even one vote can be. And I dare you not to get emotional when Leo's dad cast his first vote in the ballot. This is a perfect tool for teachers, librarians, and parents to spark conversations with young children about all the hows and whys of voting. Next slide, please. Alex Latimer is a great illustrator. In fact, he's so great that he'll draw whatever you're thinking of in this hilariously silly interactive picture book. Anything except tigers, that is. He can't draw those. In this funny meta story driven by reverse psychology, Alex's charmingly childlike illustrations of tigers improve with practice, delivering a subtle message to young readers about the importance of making a quote-unquote bad drawing an essential step toward making a quote-unquote good drawing. This is a fun read aloud about creativity and perseverance for kids. And now over to Natalie.
Hi everyone, I'm Natalie Capagrosi, Manager of School Marketing. Now let's take a trip around the world with a few picture books that take a look at different countries or cultures. First, we're off to Nigeria. Experience this gorgeous and atmospheric picture book, The Night Market, through the eyes of a young girl as she navigates the bustling night world of traders, hawkers, and grannies with her little bag of gold coins. In each market stall is a wonder just waiting to be discovered. There is a jellyfish that glows in the dark. There are perfumed oils that shine in colorful jars. And there are large sparkly fabrics, all brought to life through vibrant illustrations from acclaimed illustrator Brianna Mukudiri Uchendu. This world is full of magic and mystery that lasts just until dawn. Next slide, please. And we're off to Japan, and to another time period altogether. This is before the existence of Uber Eats, Grubhub, and delivery apps. From the 1930s to the 1970s, men called dame delivered food to thousands of office workers, students, and families. Unbelievably, in incredible acrobatic and artistic feats, they carried towering trays of soba noodles atop their shoulders. This historical fiction story is about one girl who waits for her father, a delivery man, to come home at night. The book has incredible photos that show these men biking through the city with their gravity-defying arrangements. This beautifully crafted, visually exciting story by a powerhouse author and illustrator team, the creators who brought us the acclaimed Big Bathhouse, is sure to be adored by food lovers, young and old. And next slide, please. My Olive Tree. Although this book is not about war, it clearly takes place in a country where war exists. Set in Gaza, Palestine, this is the debut picture book from Hazar Albaya, whose work is heavily influenced by her Palestinian roots. There are so many tough things that children see, hear, and experience. Luckily, we have picture books like this one, which tackle a difficult subject in a developmentally appropriate way. Here we follow a small girl, Salam, as her grandfather helps her plant an olive tree. She is excited to watch the olive tree grow. When the tree is trampled by soldiers, Salam is heartbroken, but her grandfather rallies the community to plant new trees. He explains that like the olive trees, they will always survive and flourish. For the youngest readers, this is a story about a girl dealing with loss and her community coming together to help her. For everyone, this is about the power in each of us to make the world a more beautiful and more peaceful place. Next slide, please. And Tamales for Christmas. From the Pour Belle Pré honor author of The Notebook Keeper, Stephen Briseño, comes Tamales for Christmas, to publish simultaneously in Spanish. This story is based on the real Christmas tradition of Stephen Briseño's Mexican grandmother. Every holiday season, she'd toil away to make and sell tamales to buy presents for her 9 children, 21 grandchildren, and 26 great-grandchildren. The most she ever made in 1 year was 12,000, all handmade in her humble kitchen. So this is her story, warmly and beautifully illustrated by Sonia Sanchez, to capture the spirit of the holiday and the love of a family. It explores tradition and heritage with the message that the best present is really being together. And I'll pass it over to Jasmine.
Hello, I'm Jasmine, an associate on the school and library marketing team. And up next, I have a few nonfiction titles, starting with Elder Child. From debut author Nicholas Sauter comes a lyrical read-out-loud picture book filled with vibrant illustrations. This book is perfect for kids who are curious learners, who are filled with energy and prefer to experience the world with all their senses. Follow along with these children as they experience the joy of playing in the mud, dangling from the tree limbs, and watching spiderlings hatch within the wonder of the intricate web. Next slide, please. As Edward Imagined, from an acclaimed author and illustrator team comes a picture book biography about the eccentric Edward Gorey, whose artwork and books had a profound impact on creators such as Neil Gaiman, Lemony Snicket, and Tim Burton. Even as a young boy, readers learned that Edward constantly forged his own path, passions, and pursuits, never forsaking his individuality for fame. This brilliant picture book biography is paired with a whimsical art style that captures the unrelenting creativity Edward brought to his playful macrame creations. Next slide, please. Narwhal, Unicorn of the Arctic. From Cybert Award-winning author Candace Fleming comes a new, stunningly illustrated nonfiction book about the real-life underwater unicorns, narwhals. Written in second person, Fleming enlightens us with the narwhal facts in an accessible way that kids will love and is perfect for introducing children to sea life in the Arctic Ocean. This picture book also includes extensive back matter with more fun facts about narwhals, including diving rates, communication style, and more. And passing it along to Adrienne.
Hi, everyone. Since this is the fall list, we have a lot of books representing some of the fall and winter holidays, from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Dia de los Muertos to Christmas and Hanukkah, as well as Korean New Year. Anyone looking to update their holiday displays will get some ideas here. And on to Michelle.
Thank you. And now to talk a little bit about our Step Into Reading series, chapter books and early readers. Next slide. Did you know that 2024 is the 40th anniversary for the Step Into Reading series? It's been around for 40 years. Step Into Reading offers 5 steps to reading success and has more than 650 titles available in print. There is something of interest for every level and every reader. Each step includes engaging stories and colorful art and photographs to give every child an enjoyable reading experience. And the leveling system recognizes different developmental stages and emergent readers and for emergent readers, and is designed to deliver a successful reading experience at each step. As one elementary educator in Boston told us, she said, "I can say with confidence that the Step Into Reading series has been a great supplemental tool for teaching kids how to read in her classroom," which is wonderful. And these are some of our fall titles that are coming and now available as part of the Step Into Reading series. Now over to Natalie.
Okay. Now, pop quiz. What do Elvis Presley, Zendaya, Julia Child, the Kelsey brothers, and Pope Francis have in common? Well, they all have a little golden book biography about them. That is right. Now you can learn more about all of these influential people through a fun, informative, and accessible little golden book. And I'll pass it back to Katie.
Thank you, Natalie. We can go, yep. New for chapter books, we have The Famously Funny Parrot, more bird-brained than ever. Return to Rubberwick with this new collection of short stories featuring Freddie the Purple Parrot and his loyal butler. In a review for book one, Kirkus Review said that kids and adults alike would guffaw in delight, and book two keeps the laughs going. These brand new adventures find our favorite duo deciphering Morse code, getting into trouble with the town judge, and even trying a new breakfast treat. Written by the co-creators of the beloved kid series Dora the Explorer, this book is structured as a series of funny and engaging short stories aimed at keeping young readers' attention, with black and white illustrations interspersed throughout. Think of this as a slightly older Frog and Toad. Next, we'll move to graphic novels. We can go to the next slide. The Sunset of the Saber-Toothed. The seventh Magic Treehouse graphic novel finds Jack and Annie transported to the Ice Age. When the Magic Treehouse whisks the pair back in time to the time of cave bears, early humans, and woolly mammoths, nothing can stop them from having another wild adventure, not even a saber-tooth. The Magic Treehouse adventures both educate and entertain young readers, and the graphic novel format is a great way to bring new eyes to a beloved series. Next, The Grinch Takes a Vacation. Our Dr. Seuss graphic novel program launched earlier this year with Cat Out of Water, and now Dr. Seuss's beloved and iconic character, the Grinch, is starring in his very own chapter book graphic novel. It's vacation time in Whoville, but the Grinch doesn't understand. What is a vacation? Determined to learn what the Whos are so excited about, the Grinch decides to give a vacation a try. Will there be some fun in the sun for everyone's favorite Grinch, or is the Who's favorite grumpy neighbor doomed to stay home? Katie Van Dorn's art style honors the original, but gives a new take on a fan favorite character in this brand new story. The Dr. Seuss chapter book graphic novels are a perfect bridge book for fans of the original Dr. Seuss picture books, as well as fans of Elephant and Piggy and the Narwhal and Jelly series. Next, moving into some middle grade graphic novels, we have Taxi Ghost. When Adele gets her first period, she learns that she comes from a long line of mediums. And if seeing ghosts wasn't enough of a surprise, Adele learns that not only can she interact with them, but apparently they've been using her sister's car to get around the city for years. When the ghosts won't leave her alone, Adele starts to get to know them and their problems. Maybe helping them out will just be what she needs to have an exciting winter break. From the author of the beloved Witches of Brooklyn series comes a brilliant contemporary graphic novel with a supernatural twist that explores growing up and the importance of standing up for what you believe in. Next. Nell of Gumbling, my extremely tiny forest adventure. Welcome back to Gumbling, friends. From the best-selling author of The OK Witch comes another adventure about an ordinary 12-year-old girl living an ordinary life in a magical land. Nell Starkeeper is about to go on a Gumbling rite of passage, the multidisciplinary wilderness engagement adventure, where all of the 7th graders spend a whole week in the forest. Sure, it's an enchanted forest that's full of Gumble creatures, where your most secret wish could come true at any moment, but that's nothing unusual for Nell. What's really magical here is that Nell gets to be on a team with all of her best friends. But when this epically enchanted camping trip takes a wrong turn, Nell and her friends will have to find a way to work together and celebrate each other's strengths and vulnerabilities in order to avoid a giant disaster. Next, Sink or Swim. This is our fall 2024 preview, but I am sneaking in one summer 2024 graphic novel that we want to be sure is on your radar. Bouncing back from a broken arm should be no big deal, but when Ty spends a month off the swim team, the thought of getting back in the water is suddenly not as fun as it used to be. After weeks of ignoring his swim team friends, Ty isn't sure how to connect with them again. With his friendships fracturing, will Ty be able to gain confidence in himself and fix everything before it's too late? From the world of Just Roll With It comes a boy-centric graphic novel about accepting yourself even when it's a little bit scary. Next. Turning 12. Katie can't wait to turn 12. There's pool parties, babysitting, friends, but sometimes it feels like there's so much new stuff that she can barely keep up. One thing that does seem right is her new friend, Grace. Could Katie have a crush on another girl? She might not be ready to tell anyone yet, and that's fine, but can Katie stay true to herself and embrace the person she's growing up to be? Set in the universe of the critically acclaimed Growing Pains comes a sweet and sensitive graphic novel about growing up and discovering your own identity. Next, we have a young adult graphic novel, Greater Secrets. Maya's family is cursed, or blessed, depending on who you talk to. From as far back as anyone can remember, her family has had the ability to see mysterious pillars of lights in the distance. Maya's sister left to follow that light and has been missing ever since. That's how Maya finds herself on a surreal road trip with two people she barely knows, headed towards a ghost town where her sister was last seen. Unfortunately, the closer Maya gets to her sister, the closer she gets to her own pillars of light. Maya doesn't know if she's ready to face down her destiny, but if it means finding her sister, she'll do whatever it takes. This surreal young adult graphic novel is perfect for fans of Leigh Bardugo and Mariko Tamaki. Next. And some of our most beloved graphic novel series continue. Readers will get a kick out of the hilarious shenanigans from dynamic duos such as Gnome and Rat, Pizza and Taco, and Hugo and Dino. They'll get two comics in one with the Baby Mouse flip book, and you'll devise a secret plan in the latest installment of Katie the Cat Sitter, which also features a Which Cat Are You quiz. And now I'll pass it over to Adrienne for more middle grade.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Since almost the beginning of the organization of We Need Diverse Books, Random House Children's Books has partnered with them to bring thematic anthologies to middle and YA readers, edited and written by some of the best in the business. On the Block is the latest addition to that. Award-winning and co-founder of WNDB, Ellen O, edited the first anthology, Flying Lessons, and is back as editor and contributor to this one, along with Ellen, Tracy Baptiste, Adriana Cuevas, Satyani Dasgupta, Adam Gidowitz, Erin Entrada Kelly, Min Lay, Bemi Rude Perkovich, and others make the connected stories of a community of immigrant families all living in the Entrada apartment building come to life. And as always, Random House Children's Books will make a donation to WNDB upon the anthology's hardcover publication. Next slide, please. Not Another Banned Book by critically acclaimed author Dana Allison Levy is about a topic that I don't have to tell you about. We all know the issues and the situations that are going on around the country. This book tells a story that is happening much too much these days. A teen reader and her book club find themselves in the situation of needing to explain to the adults in the community why reading all kinds of stories are so important, as well as help in saving a beloved teacher's job, ripped from the headlines, but handled really well by the author. Next slide. And then Impossible Creatures. You heard from Kate, Katherine, and Nancy at the beginning of the webinar, so not much more to say other than we are very excited to bring Kate's story and characters to the US. Catherine Applegate called it an instant classic from one of the most gifted storytellers of our time. Impossible Creatures is an astonishing miracle of a book. Next slide. Then Lola, a kid-pleasing magical quest, complete with secret portals, grocery store oracles, fantastic beasts, and so much more. The setting is based on the author's own childhood in Mexico, and the plot is peppered with Aztec myths and legends. At the heart of it is the depiction of a powerful sibling relationship. You might remember Carla's first middle grade novel, Loteria, which earned 3-star reviews. She's an exceptional writer and speaker and loves doing library and school visits. Next slide. The Graveyard Gift, Fern School for Wayward Fae. The start of a new series is always exciting, and The Graveyard Gift is the first book in the Fern School for Wayward Fae series. Perfect for fans of books that take place in fantastical schools like Upside Down Magic and the School for Good and Evil, but gives a new energy. When Rosemary Thorpe finds herself at the school because her power of knowing when people will die gets her in trouble, and then a fellow student disappears, the story really gets going. And lucky us, we'll be publishing a new book every 8 months, so your readers won't have a long time to wait for the next installment. Next slide, please. Sir Callie, the 12-year-old non-binary knight in training, and their friends are back for their third adventure. If your readers don't know about this thrilling medieval fantasy story, they will soon. After all, Booklist said in a starred review about the first book, a can't miss, one-of-a-kind, for now, page-turner bursting with heart, among the best of the year, and a debut no less. And SLJ said in their starred review, a must-have for every library. This is an important book that will capture every reader's heart and imagination. And now over to Natalie.
Next up, we have a real treasure to share. In 2019, Andrew Clements, the beloved author of Frindle, passed away. Frindle was a school story, a love letter to writing and the power of words, and it appealed to kids' desire to test boundaries. Naturally, it captured readers and it entertained them. Prior to his death, Andrew Clements had been working on a follow-up. So we're thrilled to present Frindle Files. Frindle Files stands alone and follows a brand new character, a techie kid named Josh, who unexpectedly finds himself on a mission to stand up for what he believes is right. Frindle Files is set in a whole new modern classroom, one that reflects norms today. But the teacher might be familiar to old fans. It is all about the power of words and the importance of using the right ones. It's about technology, its effects, both good and bad. It's about the mysterious joy of a great teacher and the timelessness of quality writing. It's about the power of children, especially children, to search for truth, affect change, and use their voices for good. Next slide, please. This is Carter Avery's tricky 4th grade year. 3rd grade was hard enough, and Carter Avery just knows that 4th grade is going to be even worse. He's going to be in the class of the meanest teacher, everyone says so, but luckily Carter is wrong. This new teacher is a teacher who appreciates that every student learns differently. Carter is a fidgety, active kid who doesn't always follow directions, but this teacher understands that and helps Carter become a different kind of student. One who is accepted. He learns to accept himself and to reach out to others. This is a heartwarming and lovable story about the power of shifts in perspective and the life-changing effect of having a really good teacher. This comes from Rob Bouyer, the author of the Mr. Terupt series and the master of the modern-day school story. Next slide, please. All the Best Dogs. From award-winning author Emily Jenkins comes a story about community coming together to solve a mini crisis. 4 6th graders and their dogs overlap in a dog park on one almost summer weekend, and each of them has a problem that they are trying to solve. Hilariously, both the human and the dog perspectives are offered. This is a story with a series of surprises, mishaps, and misunderstandings that will end up changing all of their lives. It's a book about the joy of pets, and it's for anyone who loves a dog or needs a laugh. Expressive and charming line art illustrations by Manuel Pratano accompany Jenkins' heartwarming story. And now we'll move into science fiction. This is Never 13, the 2nd book in the Ever series, by acclaimed author of The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl, Stacey McNulty. At first, living forever might seem great, but imagine what it would be like if you got stuck at age 12 and never aged beyond that. It is not easy to be 12, and so it's also not easy to be a 12-year-old who has lived for hundreds of years. That's why the Evers, a group of kids who've been alive for centuries, hid away, and blended in at the elite West Archer Academy, a boarding school for the gifted. We met the Evers in the first part of this duology, Forever 12. In Never 13, we dive right back into the mystery of why the Evers can't die or age, and we get the stunning conclusion. Don't miss it. And I'll pass.
I have 2 horror books for you, starting with Breach School. Meet Your Fears take flight in the scary sequel of the Creatures and Teachers series. Angelo and his friends know that together they can handle pretty much anything together. The scariest thing they think they must worry about these days is the upcoming dance. But when a terrifying new enemy attacks from above, it seems they met their ultimate match, giant vampire birds after blood. This book is perfect for readers that are looking for scary books that still have hilarious moments woven throughout. Next slide, please. We have a new spine-tingling read, perfect for middle grade readers looking for a creepy read. When Avery plans a seance at an abandoned theater that was the site of a horrible tragedy to bond with her friends, she didn't expect they would be locked inside with someone or something else. I'm passing it along to Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Dutton. I am the School and Library Digital Marketing Manager, and I'm going to talk about some middle grade mysteries. Fans of classic New York City mysteries like When You Reach Me, The Vanderbeekers, and Harriet the Spy will absolutely adore The Queen of Ocean Parkway. It's an exciting adventure filled with diverse, relatable characters, unforgettable friendships, and rich storytelling that pays homage to the classic titles I mentioned before, but with a fresh contemporary voice. Explore iconic Brooklyn spots with Roya, an 11-year-old podcaster turned sleuth, and Amin, the new kid in the building, as they search for their missing neighbor in this irresistible mystery that Lauren Magaziner calls a clever feat of physics and fun. Next. Everything is on the line when the world's most famous game maker invites 13 lucky 13-year-olds to compete for the keys to his entire game-making empire. Mr. Lemoncello's fantabulous finale is exactly what its title indicates. A fantabulous finale to the beloved series that has sold over 2.1 million copies, spent 2 years on the New York Times bestseller list, been nominated for 44 state award lists across 40 states, and won 22 state awards. With short chapters, fast pacing, lots of action, conversation-starting themes, and a strong freedom to read message, it is no wonder that the Mr. Lemoncello books are beloved by kids and grown-ups alike. Next slide. A haunted mansion, a mysterious curse, a creepy, twisty mystery. What more could you ask for? In The Curse of the Dead Man's Diamond, 12-year-old Charlie moves from New York City to sweaty, sticky Florida and finds herself pitted against 3 unruly spirits who have been cursed into haunting her home after stealing a dead man's diamond. A diamond that, like the ghosts, is still hidden in the house. Can Charlie find the diamond, lift the curse, banish the ghosts, deal with the school bully, and get her family to move back to New York? You'll have to read to find out. And I'm going to pass it back to Michelle.
Thanks, Katie. We have some really wonderful continuing series in the middle grade category that we want to put on your radar. These are all coming out this fall, and they're all really great for reluctant readers and fans of Ready Player One and The Last Kids on Earth. So be sure to check those out. Next slide, please. In addition, we have some favorite middle grade titles that are now available in paperback for the first time, which will be great for classroom library editions, from solving decades-old mysteries in Florida to selling the most cookie dough for a school fundraiser to fantasy quests filled with magic. There's something here for every reader. And now over to Katie.
To kick things off for young adult, I have one contemporary fiction offering for you, and that is The Glass Girl by Kathleen Glasgow. Everyone in 15-year-old Bella's life needs something from her. There's only one thing that dulls the incessant pressure that she feels. Vodka, beer, peppermint schnapps. Alcohol smooths the sharp edges of Bella's life. But after she gets blackout drunk at a Thanksgiving party and wakes up in a hospital, it's time for her to face reality. And for Bella, reality means rehab. Gorgeously written and deeply compassionate, Kathleen's Glasgow's The Glass Girl is a candid exploration of the forces pushing young women towards addiction and self-harm and what it really takes to help them get better. Now I'll pass it to Adrienne for some fantasy.
Thank you. If you or your readers like stories taking place in an alternative Regency era England, love Jane Austen, and are looking for their next romantasy read, boy, do we have a book for them. When the younger of two sisters is summoned home to the manor that their family has had for ages after their father dies and finds her once strong sister a shell of herself, she must figure out how to keep away the monsters and save everything they know. This is an accessible yet thought-provoking novel that leans into the popularity of the Gothic with the added twist of monstrous creatures that provide page-turning action. Next slide, please. Serpentsy by Maya Ibrahim is the sequel to her critically acclaimed Spice Road, which received 3-star reviews and is influenced by Maya's own heritage and the stories passed down to her from her parents, who fled Lebanon and resettled in Australia during the Lebanese Civil War. A romantic fantasy, a forbidden quest for jewels, monsters, and a journey across a sea make up the beautifully written book. The final book, 3, will be out in the summer of 2025. Next slide, please. Erin has quite the following for her books House of Salt and Sorrows, Small Favors, House of Roots and Ruin. The 13th Child is a beautifully creepy and romantic YA fantasy that is a fresh take on little-known Grimm Brothers fairy tales. This book combines a sweeping coming-of-age story with lush, fantastical world building and opulent cottagecore vibes. It's going to be another winner. Next slide, please. At a secret Manhattan boarding school, the descendants of the Chinese zodiac have hidden away since the source of their magic, the 12 zodiac statues, was vandalized and lost to time. When the lost statues suddenly resurface and a powerful classmate is found dead, all signs point to foul play from the Fae. The descendants finally have the chance to take back what's rightfully theirs and break the curse. But one wrong move and the fate of their kind will come crashing down. This series opener is perfect for fans of Deadly Education and Legendborn. And back over to Erica.
Hi, so I'm here for 2 horror offerings. Old Wounds by Logan Ashley Keisner is a debut YA. This thought-provoking novel is the perfect conversation starter about gender identity and existing as a trans person in contemporary America. It's a pulse-pounding thriller with nuanced takes on LGBTQ issues. 2 transgender teens end up in a small, isolated town where they must escape the locals who plan to sacrifice one of them to an ancient monster that only eats girls. The thing is, the locals don't know who they just trapped as their sacrifice. They don't know Erin and Max's secrets, which could be a death sentence on a good day. And the monster that lives in the woods has never faced prey who have already fought so hard to live. This is a page-turning horror novel. It's perfect for reluctant readers and those seeking an escapist experience. Next slide. We Are the Beasts. This is a chilling historical horror story inspired by the real-life mystery of the Beast of Gavadon. 2 girls plan to fake their friends' deaths to rescue them from nightmarish lives. However, their escape becomes more complicated than they thought, and if the beast finds them first, the fake deaths might just become real. This is highly recommended for fans of dark historical YA. And now over to Michelle.
BFFs Lucy and Callie are high school seniors with big dreams of getting into a top acting school and becoming roommates. There's just one thing. Lucy is recently out as transgender, and honestly, she's not even sure if she's allowed to apply to the women's college that she and Callie are so excited about. Being out at their high school hasn't exactly been easy either, and she's really hoping that college will be the opportunity that she needs to really own herself exactly how she is. There's only one way to find out: a grand road trip for a college campus tour. This contemporary queer YA is perfect for fans of Heartstopper. Next slide, please. Based on real historical figures, New York Times bestselling author Katherine McGee brings her soapy, romantic, and feminism-minded storytelling to a royally fantastic new duology. 3 princesses struggle to find love. 2 will become queens one day, and 1 will die tragically young. From the ballrooms to the stables to the beautiful countryside homes of the ruling families of Europe, these princesses will steal every dance, every glance, and perhaps even every kiss that they can get. This is for those readers who can't stop watching Bridgerton. Next slide, please. From the author of the best-selling phenomenon, The Kissing Booth, comes an amazing, dazzling romance about an overachieving girl who unknowingly kisses the one guy she shouldn't have the night before her new internship begins. This is perfect for fans of romance who enjoy forbidden romance tropes and for fans of The Summer I Turned Pretty. Next slide, please. Inspired by Mexican history and mythology, the author of Sinner's Isle, Angela Montoya, has written a delicious standalone opposites attract romantasy that you'll absolutely want to sink your teeth into. A fledgling vampire and a headstrong vampire huntress must work together against their better judgment to rid the world of monsters. This is a swoon-worthy, high-concept, fast-paced fantasy romance with characters who are hilariously uptight and positively lovable. It'll fit right in with other vampire romance series like Crave and Twilight. And now over to Jasmine.
Up next, I have a few sci-fi books, starting with The Dividing Sky. From our debut author, Jill 2, comes a dystopian romance. It's 2460, and 18-year-old Liv Newman dreams of a future beyond her lower-class life in the metro. As a proxy, she uses the newer chip in her brain to sell memories to wealthy clients. Maybe a few illegally, but money equals freedom. But rookie forceman Adrian Rao believes in order overall. After discovering that Liv's shady dealings are messing with citizens' brain chemistry, he makes it his mission to track her down. But there's one problem. Her memories are gone. As Liv and Adrian navigate the world beyond the metro and their growing feelings for one another, they grapple with who they are, who they could be, and whether if there's another way of living is possible. Next slide, please. Happy Head. We have a new, bold, dystopian thriller. Seb has been selected for a new experimental mental health center called Happy Head, designed to solve the national crisis of teenage unhappiness. There, he and his fellow participants will compete in a series of assessments meant to test them so they can better face the challenges of the real world. But then Seb meets a mysterious participant named Finn, who is resisting the Brogan's rules. The leaders want everyone to believe that Finn is mentally unstable, but as Finn exposes cracks in the system around them, Seb is left questioning the true nature of the challenges and wondering if Finn is the only one he can truly trust. And passing it along to Katie.
Thanks, Jasmine. Kicking off the thriller section, author of Win, Lose, Kill, Die, Cynthia Murphy returns with an explosive thriller about a teenager whose true crime obsession hits a little too close to home, literally. This riveting paperback original follows Paige as she becomes more and more immersed in the horrifying history of her father's eerie hometown, which is where she and her family now live. Clues to a string of unsolved murders and disappearances begin appearing at Paige's house, leading her to wonder whether she'll be the one to finally solve the mystery or the next target. Next, please. What would you kill for? When an ad for an internship with the Louisiana Veda Foundation poses this question, seemingly every high school student in the country rushes to apply. Arcadia Dia Gannon has been obsessed with Louisiana Veda, the late game designer who's created a cult-like status ever since she and her mom played Disappearing Act. Her game-making empire, Darkly, was renowned for its ingenious, utterly terrifying toys and games, rife with hidden symbols and secrets. But after Veda's mysterious death, Darkly went bankrupt and the production was discontinued. Now Dia and the other interns are thrust into the enigmatic heart of Louisiana Veda's operation, and Dia immediately questions everything. The New York Times bestselling author of Night Film spins a twisted web in this masterful YA psychological thriller. Next, please. When a winter storm traps 8 teens in a remote ski cabin, they find themselves stranded with a killer who may be one of their own. From the acclaimed author of The Ivies and the Edgar Award-nominated Pretty Dead Queens comes a YA thriller that will make your blood run cold. This multiple POV story is filled to the brim with unreliable narrators, red herrings, shocking rumors, secret romances, and merciless murder. The Bitter End is a fast-paced page-turner, perfect for fans of One of Us is Lying and readers that will keep you guessing till the very end. Next, please. Love is forever, but the internet never forgets. Kiara, Priscilla, and Nevaeh have nothing in common, except they just found out that they're all dating Tommy Harding, the internet's most famous teen prank star, when a viral post from Tommy's social media account exposes his cheating ways. The girls are crushed and furious. And when Tommy's body is found the next morning, the girls go from strangers to suspects. Heart-Shaped Lies is a witty, darkly comedic John Tucker Must Die for Gen Z readers that features complex, dynamic, strong female protagonists. Hand this one to fans of Tiffany D. Jackson, Yellow Jackets, and Christina Hammond Reed's The Black Kids. Next slide. From the author of The Cheerleaders comes another dark YA thriller set in the same town of Sunnybrook. When a mysterious accident befalls a member of the all-star high school football team, the town's deadly history stands to repeat itself, and the price of discovering the truth is higher than anyone can imagine. The Champions is a companion to Kara Thomas's incredibly popular The Cheerleaders. The 2 books can be read in any order, and like The Cheerleaders, it is a brilliantly plotted, suspenseful psychological thriller that will have readers on the edge of their seats. Next slide. Natasha Preston is back with The Party, another pulse-pounding, twisty read. In the heart of the English countryside, Bessie and her closest friends gather at a remote castle for a secret party destined to make this the best spring break ever. But when the first of them dies, the party takes a lethal turn. As the body count continues to rise, Bessie and her friends must contend with a deadly storm and growing internal suspicion, all while trapped inside with the killer. Next slide. And finally, for the YA thrillers, deliciously campy and delightfully binge-worthy, You're Dead to Me follows high school outcast and anonymous social media gossip Ruby, who comes face to face with her own ghost dressed in a blood-splattered prom dress. With less than a week until the dance, Ruby must unmask her killer or die trying. This fun, edgy thriller is perfect for fans of Happy Death Day, Pretty Little Liars, Original Sin, and Scream. And I'm going to pass this back to Natalie.
And we are happy to share a suite of paperback editions of YA titles. These powerhouse paperbacks will be available in the fall and are perfect for book clubs and recommendations for course adoptions. So do not miss these. And over to Erica.
And that concludes our title presentations for fall 2024. For more information about our upcoming books and to download free resources, please follow us on Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter, and visit us online at rhteacherslibrarians.com. Lastly, ARCs and FNGs of all the titles presented today are available for request on Edelweiss and NetGalley. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much to the Random House Children's Books team and our special guests, Nancy Siscoe and Katherine Rundell, for such a fantastic preview. So many wonderful books. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's video recording, title list, slide presentation, and a certificate of completion. For more about Booklist webinars, be sure to visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Heading to sunny San Diego for ALA Annual, be sure to stop by the Booklist booth number 635 for tons of bookish happenings. We'll have copies of Booklist and Booklist Reader, our new guide to graphic novels issue, book giveaways, author signings, including a signing with Random House Children's Book author Min Lei on Sunday, June 30th at 11:30 a.m., a reader recommendations wheel, and more. Plus, be sure to get your tickets for the Michael L. Prince Awards and the Andrew Carnegie Awards ceremony and reception to hear from some amazing authors and celebrate reading. Find more details on the Booklist website. Whether you're traveling overseas, across the country, or via armchair this summer, we have your next beach read. Subscribe now to get print and digital copies of Booklist and digital and shareable issues of our new patron-friendly product, Booklist Reader, for a special webinar price of $99. In addition to these publications, you'll also get archive access, extra online content, and our 2024 Guide to Graphic Novels issue mailing this July. Head over to the Booklist website for details. Thank you again for joining us for today's webinar. One more huge thank you to our guests and to our sponsor, Random House Children's Books. This concludes today's webinar. See you next time.